right, hey guys, back with you here on Thursday, July 5th here, middle of the day, and I'm working on the second request here by our members today, right? We poll our members, let them choose what gets analysis. Now today we do traditional assets, so we've done just on the British pound to the dollar. Now here is NVDA. Also a lot of interest in this. Now this is, I'm going to talk about a raging bull market. I'm working from the low down here at 11 bucks. I think actually, well, so let me show you a couple things. So number one, when a market like this has gone so vertical, you have to put it in log scale, right? So here's traditional, right, or without just regular scale. But by going to log scale, I can see the separate. I got to go to auto. I can see that separation much better here. So we're going all the way back down here to 5 bucks. I'm just tightening that up. Now, this is a little squirrel. It's a little tricky here. This has to be our A wave. So we got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We get an A, and then this looks like I get an A, B, C into a B. I stay internal from this pivot up here. So I stay internal, and I think what we end up with is a truncated C wave here. So it's that there's no, even though it looks like it might be there because we're in log scale, it compresses these lower numbers here. So we get through the 65, but that's certainly not a typical C wave. But I think that's the only way to count that, because I can finish. Oh, look at that, perfect. If I wick this off here, look how perfect that is, right? So I get a 1, 2, 3, 4. I finish with a 5 down here for a C wave. So that's what I'm working with as my low. Now let me pull that off here, and this is this set of median lines here is what I think is, it appears to be offering the geometry to the market here, even though we've gone off to this sliding parallel. So from this low here to 11 bucks. Now this was a little tricky to dig out here, but it's there. It's not the most difficult count I've ever seen. So let's open this up here, and we just buzz through it here pretty quickly. So I can get a 1, 2, 3. Looks like I get an A, perhaps an expanded flat here. Looks like I've got an A, B, slightly expanded B wave down for the C. And interestingly, that holds this pivot here. So note here, support, resistance, support, right? Very, very common. So that's why you always want to look left and wick off these significant pivots, because they have a way of coming back into play. So I get a 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like I finish with a diagonal. There's my one wave coming off of that low. Well, here's my next retracement. Now again, it looks shallow, but oops, it looks like I got that off a little bit. It looks shallow because we're in log scale. But if I pull this up here because of the compression, well, it's relatively shallow, and we just barely make the 38. Well, if we don't even make the 38, so that is definitely a shallow wave too. We're in low probabilities here. That's 12% of wave 2s will retrace only to the 38. So, it's, as I said in the last video, that's still 12%. So there it is. And it looks like I've got good subdivision here to give me that 2. That's the deepest retracement that I get before I get to this. So it looks like I've got 1, 2, 1, 2. All right, so which is ultimately very, very bullish. So let's see. Let's get this off of here real quick. Okay, so I've got 1, 2. Then it would appear that I go yet again 1, 2. So from this low to my high here, well, I'm to the 618 to the tick, which that gives me confidence that that's a good 2. Given that so we know a 2 high probability zones between the 50 and the 618. We tap the 618 before we go up, and then look what happens here at the algo target. Do you see that? So we go from right here. So you can see that's clear algo activity right to the 618 lower parallel. And we tap it, and we get the little pullback for the reaction. So clear, no question, algos are in there. All right, so we go from 1, 2, and then it looks like, I got to scrunch down here a little bit. It looks like we get this very long 3. So I had to actually do it this way. So from this one low here, with confidence now that I've got a good 2, then I go to my 2 here. I had to all the way to the 618 to get that pivot. That's how extreme that move is. All right, so Talk about a raging bull. So there we go. So it looks like I've got a 3 in there. So it looks like I've got 1, 2, 3. I go sideways. I get my little triangle pattern for my 4. So I've got a nice looking, I've got good symmetry here. So I've got simple, complex, rule of alternation. So it looks like I've got a good 4. And then from here, we start yet again going up to finish the 5. Now, are we done yet? Well, let's go down. Let's go to a 2 hour, see if we can make sense of this. So from this pivot here at the 1, there I get my 2, right to the Vegas wave. And then it looks like I've got 1, 2, oh boy, it's ugly. So let's label it. So it looks like I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this looks like I finished right here. So I'm going to take this up a degree so it makes sense. We'll change that color. Let's go to green. We'll go up a degree so we don't lose our spot here of where we are in the trend. Okay, so it looks like I've got 1, 2, 3, deep 4. I finish for the 5. And then here, yet again, it looks like I've got a bit of a truncated, or pardon me, an expanded B wave. Looks like I come down. Is this my low? Yeah, looks like I come down here. Let's take a quick look at that. So looks like I've got A, B, and this would be, Jesus, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down for the C. So even if I just did something simple, just putting a channel on this. So that looks pretty decent right there. We break the channel. Now we're going up. We're trying to complete here. So if that's a 4, it would, one, look, now we've got to dig in a little bit more. Let's get a little closer on that. We can see it a little bit better. So looks like that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is a possibility here that we've got a contender for at least an intermediate top. So let's label it. So 1, 2, 3, ABC for my 4. Looks like that's a contender there to be done. Let's go back to, we're going yellow there. Okay, so let's check it. So from the 2, come here. From the 2 low to my 3 high. Wow, isn't that interesting? All right, so down here we're between, so for the 4, we come to the Vegas wave. We're just between the 38 and the 50. Reasonable spot here. Look here. So as I show you this all the time, prior resistance becomes the support. Right? So we come down, tap it here. So it looks like I have a decent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've got a contender there for that top to be in. Now we're how long we've got? I think we've got a bit of a wait here. We got another month and a half until the next earnings report. So this is a contender now for an ABC. So that's a real contender for an A wave, B wave, C to go down. Now I'm not calling for the top in NVDA, but you know, just looking at the charts, hard to argue with what we're seeing there. So let me put this over here. Let's put that in a different color. Let's go to blue. Okay, so there looks like I've got a completed 5. So if I'm going to finish this up here, if this is my 4. No, it's not bad. It's not bad technically, and we've got some confluence up here that certainly potentially a front run off of that algo target. So let's go back out a bit here. Let's go to a 4 hour and take a look at that. So let's think. If that were going to finish up there, we'd be finishing. Boy, it's at some point eventually you run out of waves. So we'd be finishing. Let's get this. I gotta get that in a different color. It's too confusing. Okay, let's go up a degree. Let's go to submenu. Okay, so there, 1, 2, 3, 4 down here. You know, it's possible. So here's the other possibility. So if that's 4, so this we could just be in 1, 2. So let's consider that as a possibility here. So if from my 4 low, let's go to this 2 to my 3s. Yeah, I think this is more likely here. So still have upside targets. So if this is a good 4, no reason to assume this trend is going to end. It's possible, right? But here, so coming down for an A, we got to watch for the extremes here for a second. So it looks like I've got potentially now, I've got an A going in. I'm going to do some sort of a B and then maybe, with a double bottom, or we go to the 786. That would not be unusual to set up a 1, 2. So on the larger degree, then we'd have into my 5th, we'd be going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then everything moves up. So this would have to go up here. I got to change the color again. Let's go up a degree on that one. We'll go to, there you go. Okay, so that we make some sense of it there. Okay, so that was very real possibility. In fact, upon closer inspection, I think that's much more likely. That's just a 1, 2 ABC going in. We don't know where this ends up. We don't know where that is, but that's, you know, I'm just kind of eyeballing here for a candidate. So do I get a 1, 2 ABC into this, and then I continue? Then I'd be pushing for the third up here to finish what then looks more reasonable, because now we're looking to come up and approach the upper parallel here as a contender for our third, right? Not the absolute top. This would just be the top of the third. So if I'm up here, the top of the third of the very large degree, and then there'd be a 4, 5. Right, so all of this would potentially be lining up here, and we don't know where it's going to be. It could all be over here. So but you get the broader idea. It looks like we've got one more kick there. So how do you know? Well, certainly this. If we break this low, that would add confirmation to this as potentially the top. But if you look at the symmetry here, the relationship between the length of the 3, the 4, the length of the 5 relative to the length of the 3, it looks like there's yet more to come there. And no reason to think otherwise. The other thing we could do, of course, is, let me tighten this up here a little bit. Yeah, that looks like I got an ABC, some sort of a triangle here. So we can take the length of the one wave. Commonly, we'll look for common targets here. If I can get this hot. Hello? Come on. There we go. All right, so length of the 1 projected from my proposed 4. All right, so here's my 100% common target, 1272, 1618. So if this is going to keep going, those are targets we want to pay attention to. And note here this overlap that we're getting relative to this retracement here that so far is just on the 618. And look how that sets up with those fib swing relationships from the length of the 1 projected from the 4 low. So definitely contenders here as potential pivots to be looking for. Now that's not to be shorting, but those would be targets to places to consider, either taking a partial profit, tightening up your stop. Take some profit if you want to try and trade for the 4, 5. You want to let it come down for the 4 and then go for the 5. All reasonable ideas here, but right now, this just doesn't have enough subdivision to suggest anything other than an A wave going in off of this one wave completing. I guess given the good subdivision we've had along the way, no reason to anticipate that wouldn't continue. So I would expect a B wave and a C wave before we go up again and start looking for finishing up here, keeping in mind that upper parallel as a likely target. Right, so that's what I see there. One to watch. Certainly has been a remarkable run in this equity in NVDA, within NVDA, I guess I should say. All right, so sitting up here, those targets are up around 374. The 2618 would be the extreme. That's $400. Well, we're sitting at 241 right now, so there's plenty of juice still in it if it's going to realize that target and head up here to this upper parallel, which I'm looking for. Okay, with that, I'll wrap it here, guys. Just a reminder, give us a follow over on Twitter. The handle is Trade Devils with an S, Trade Devils. Or you can find us on our website at tradedevils.com if you're interested in this methodology, how to apply it to any asset. The asset does not matter, whether it's crypto or FX, equities, indexes, commodities. It does not matter. It's the same thing every time, and that is the value. All right, guys. Hope to see you soon.